Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 9:06. Roll call, it looks like it's just Joe Jean and me. So we're gonna have to agree on everything, Joe Jean.
Have trouble.
I guess we'll make a motion to add something to the agenda. We're going to vote on the meeting, canceling the meeting for the 21st of December.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll make that item 11.
Yes, please.
Okay. And are you approving this agenda?
Go ahead, Joe Jean.
I'll move to approve the agenda and add item 11.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll move to 55 Granite Valley Crest Way. Is that Andrew? Yes.
I can make a motion and that's just going to start the discussion. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah.
I'll move to deny.
Yeah, we went and looked at this property, and I'm inclined to agree with Joe Jean. We looked at this property and we were a little confused about what the borders were, and we didn't know if they were the original borders of where the house would be, or if this reflected the change that had been done based on earlier discussions. We couldn't quite tell exactly where the variances would be, and it seemed like the ones that were actually asked for in the submission were a little bit close to the nature trail, and we were concerned about how that would affect the experience of the people on the nature trail, and also it was very close to the road. Do you have go ahead.
Yeah, no, I actually it is a confusing, I will admit it's a confusing site because it's a very irregular site.
It's a very challenging site, and we all fully acknowledge that.
So it sounds like you were able to see the site or visit the site. And
yeah, we were there for about a half hour walking through and looking at the posts you put up and the ribbons.
Yeah, so the ribbon that I drew across was my best guesstimate of where the face of the garage would be. And that is basically the proposed setback. So if I understand correctly, the Valley Crest Way would be a 20-foot setback. We're asking basically, can we move that setback to 15 feet, which is basically requesting a 5-foot departure. All of the other property line setbacks are technically 5 feet because that's not, everything else is not front yard setback. And then so there was one on the one thing that was marked, survey marker, is a property corner. There was a white stake there that was the property marker closest to the trail.
Okay, yes, we saw that.
Yeah, so the proposed setback to that portion of the home is more than 5 feet. So technically along that side yard, I'm allowed 5 feet, which is about the face of the largest tree near that property stake, if that makes sense. So the portion of the portion that we're really requesting variance from for the setback is the garage, which, you know, if we look at basically pushing the house back, it does a couple of things. One, it gets us further away from that sort of natural bench that's there, and it actually pushes us further into the steeper part of the site. And then essentially where all of the setbacks are from that front yard is placing it, it's becomes to the point where all the like the significantly large trees that are on that slope become potential takedowns. I marked a 6 tree based on talking to a arborist, and they said, if you're taking down one tree and another tree is within like 5 feet of it, the root zones are going to be entangled, and you're probably going to have to take down the other one as well.
Mhm.
So that's why I marked a sixth tree on the lot.
Okay, yeah, we saw those back there.
Yeah, and I know that you it sounded like previous variances are, there's no weight in a previous variance, but the reason why I included the previous variance was this was approved by a previous board, that the setback was granted for similar purposes. The other thing that I would like to note is that the homes to basically to the east, or back down Valley Crest, are actually closer to the road. If you do a sight line from where that ribbon is, it aligns basically with the other homes. So we're not proposing anything closer to the road than what's already there.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think that our inclination at our tour was to deny, mainly because we were unclear. We do like to visit the site, and that's that's a really big part of it. How will it impact the site? We can only tell so much from the drawing, and there really has to be a compelling reason for you and for the neighbors. We have to consider the neighbors and the nature trail and the road. So all those things come into play, and based on what we saw, and there, well, I'll admit there was some confusion. We would probably deny this because there, and we appreciate that you're trying to save some trees, and it's a noble gesture, but I mean, it seems like it's a really big house for that lot, and to grant a variance, we didn't see any compelling reason to, because the house doesn't look like it was designed for the lot. It looks like the lot was bought, and we're trying to squeeze a house on there any way we can. And that was the main thrust of our decision for this when we were looking at it. We would be open to maybe meeting again with you on the site and talking about where these pieces would actually be. But as Jogene noted, I think we would deny as submitted.
Okay.
But we are certainly open to discussions further to see how we can make this work.
I think, I mean, yeah, I wish I had the availability prior to the meeting to say like, hey, I would meet you on the site, because I think that is extremely beneficial. But again, too, I kind of the comments to the house with the site, I would say I guess my comment to that point about the house just being designed and then put on the site is not correct, in that
I mean, mostly the size of it for that lot. I could see that you're trying to accommodate the dimensions of the house and making it fit within the dimensions, but it is a big house to ask for a variance to make it fit within that space.
I mean, it's only a 2,500 square foot home with 2 floors. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's, in terms of a custom residence, I mean, just driving up, I mean, the neighbor's home is probably well over 3,000
I agree. It's not enormous, but for the lot, I think it's hard to squeeze that in there. And our engineer, Wayne, was there too, and he was perplexed on how this was actually going to fit on there.
Well, and that's why that's kind of the form of the home is sweeping, is that it's trying to play with the contours rather than, like having a narrow, skinny house that is aligned with the contours and trying to fit on a bench. That's why it's the shape, is that it's, I mean, if you look at how the contours are laid out on the site plan with how the house is, like actually the form of it, reflecting the contours of the site.
Yeah, I see that, and that's certainly, and we considered that.
Mhm.
The
And also
the
the
accommodations
trees.
you did make.
Yeah, and also the trees. I mean, any other, if I building a 2,000 square foot home on the west side of the site where that flat bench is, basically, I mean, it would be a 4-story box.
Yeah.
Wayne is here.
Wayne is here. Hello, Wayne. We're talking about 55 Valley Crest Way, the new construction.
He's connecting.
He's connecting.
You're muted, Wayne.
Wayne, do you have any comments about 55 Valley Crest Way, the new construction? We're talking to the, I'm sorry, are you the architect, the owner?
Architect.
Okay,
I think he's trying to connect.
okay.
While he's doing that, MA, could you tell us who you are? Oh, never mind. Wayne is here.
Yep, I'm here.
Wayne, do you have any comments about the new construction on 55 Valley Crest?
Yeah, so the one comment I have is I can't really tell.
Actually, Wayne, just so you know, there is a motion on the table to deny. It has not been seconded. We're in discussion.
Right, yeah, so the question is, where exactly is the, I guess the markings or the ribbons marking out where the project starts and where the property line sits? What's not clear when we went as a team to go look at the property or the project, where exactly the stakes mark the property line and where the edge of the eaves were going to start.
Yeah, sure. So the ribbon that was strung through the trees, like the long ribbon, was essentially what I had figured as the face of the garage, which would be the proposed setback for the garage. The proposal was reducing the setback to 15 feet from 20. As I was explaining early on, it's as you know, it's an irregular shaped lot. The corner markings that are there. So for instance, there's a white stake marking the corner that is basically near the cluster of trees that are by the trail.
Andrew, is that there? What is the stake that is behind that really big rock? What is that stake for? I couldn't quite tell.
Was it a white stake?
I think it was white, wasn't it, Wayne?
Yeah,
The one that was behind that big rock.
Yeah, the white stake should be the north, like the north property line at kind of the jog in the site.
Okay, I see that. Yeah,
it's basically there was a 40-inch fir, a 22-inch fir, right around that stake, another 22-inch fir. That is the north property corner at the jog, and then the property goes westerly, and then comes back south. So the white stake, I also planted one little flag that would kind of represented where the corner of the house is on the north side of the lot. But the ribbon going through that, I think it probably was about 30 feet long. I would say the ribbon, just so I can kind of give you guys an idea of where that setback was. It's basically representing the garage face.
Now, there was another question about where you measured the variance from, because we do include the eave of the property of the structure too. That's where we go. That's where we start.
Okay, I went face of structure.
Okay. And it looks like that might add another 2 feet, possibly.
And if that, I mean, if that's, I guess we could meet, like, it's easier to, move or delete overhangs. So, I mean, it's, or kind of slide or make the garage bare minimum or squeeze like a few inches out of the garage. I think like what we're just looking at is, if we could have a 5-foot variance from that 20-foot setback, it does wonders in terms of trying to save those trees, which are probably our main importance, and then getting it close to the bench that has been identified as sort of the optimal area by both the geoengineer and contractors.
Now, just to throw this out there, is there a way we could accommodate this design if we moved everything back and maybe shortened the deck in the back? So rather than a variance of 5 feet in the front, could we shorten the deck in the back?
I'm looking at where, so if you go to the A 1.0 exhibit,
Yeah,
that basically shows moving, like trying to align with those 20-foot setbacks.
Mhm.
It's like basically where it, and that's the other thing too, is that because the irregular site, it's like that sawtooth jog, it's unclear to us also how that is, it's not, to me, it's like a side yard. Front yard is obviously fronting Valley Crest. But yeah, I mean, if that red footprint is actually the home minus deck, so you could see that it would significantly shave off. I mean, you would basically nuke all those trees in that area. Even the there's another 22-inch tree that would probably be removed as well. So the red outline is just the home, not the deck, because that's why I put the note on sheet A 1.01 that, depending on, once we get, if we were to get on site and start excavating and all of a sudden we hit a critical root zone, then we would analyze how big the deck should be or where we could put a post based on the actual knowledge of the root zone. But if, for instance, it's a hard instead. It's a hard.
I'm sorry.
So I had a follow-up question. Okay, so while we're trying to figure out where your 5-foot setback was going to begin, and we were considering measurement from the eave. So if you're saying eave or front of face of building, doesn't make any difference to you. So the other consideration is because of the 20-foot setback and the fact that you're coming in off that curve or the hook off the road, where would the driveway start, and how much of that 20-foot would you need for the drive? I wouldn't imagine you would just drive right into the garage as you described.
I guess I'm not following the question. I mean, I mean the proposed driveway, basically the unimproved right of way, we would have to extend if on sheet. So for instance, on sheet A 101, you see the limits of the actual paved road. So we would come off of that with like a 12-foot driveway, and then essentially, enough paving or drive lane space to enter into the garage. So assuming between 18 and 20 feet, depending on the door size.
So what is it? Is it a door size? Like, is this a double car garage, right? So the door
Correct.
size is, yeah. So you're dealing with a 20-foot wide door, right? So
Correct.
your driveway is going to be 20 feet wide, and it's going to go right to edge of road, right?
Well,
Or is it gonna, or are you gonna start from where the edge of property is?
so the 20 feet, basically the apron, we'll call it the apron in front of the garage to the property line is 20 feet. And then it necks down basically to 12 feet to marry up to the road. So basically that, I mean, when you're on site and you park your car at the edge of the road, you're literally probably anywhere between 70 and 80 feet of there's still right of way that continues to the property that's unimproved.
So that leads up to the next question. You realize that there's a park trail system there, right? So that's where the patrons would park their vehicles. So how would you deal with that?
I guess the question is, one, I mean, right now it's kind of a free for all. It's you know, there would have to be, you know, obviously like any other right of way, you'd have to allow for access to a property, right? So like if I'm at any other property and I have a curb cut from my site to the property, I mean, you know, people just can't park in front of somebody's drive lane to not allow it ingress and egress from their site. The trail entrance is north of the driveway. So, I mean, we're not proposing on infringing on the trail.
Well, I mean, it's slightly, I mean, that's why you're asking for a variance, is because you want to push it up closer toward the trail. And that was our main concern is, you know, there's a reason why we have these setbacks. And I think it would really impact the experience of the nature trail users.
Daniel, I guess I'm getting confused on, so it's hard. I wish I could share my screen because I don't think we're looking at the same thing. So,
Okay.
So here's the issue is that I've got to access the site from Valley Crest Way. Can we agree on that?
I guess that's probably the only way you can get in. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm hearing from this group that I have to be respectful of the trail, but then at the same time, I'm being told that you know, I'm going to be infringing on the trail if I access my site. So I guess looking at it from the perspective of where the ACC says, you know, their guiding principles that I stated in the letter.
Andrew, see if you can share your screen. You should be able to.
I don't even have on the Zoom link. I don't even have the ability to click on share screen.
Try again. I just changed something.
Nope, still no.
Okay.
So I guess where I'm going is, like, you know, there's a statement about fair and reasonable use of the site. And the comments that basically I've just heard is, well, you're proposing a driveway that's going to go and infringe on the trail. The fact is that trail technically doesn't start until past the house. You're basically you're looking at a part of the right of way of Valley Crest Road as the trail, but it's not the trail. The trailhead is actually further down the road, and then you're saying that, you know, this house can't, you know, take away from the experience of the trail. But then by you know, pushing, you know, asking us to meet these setbacks, you're basically saying, okay, well, we don't want the house there because of the aesthetic, but then move the house away and take down some of the oldest trees on the property.
Well, I don't think anybody here has actually said remove
Well,
those trees. I mean, that was
well,
your
well, no,
suggestion.
well,
And
that,
we, I mean, there are ways to accommodate this property without cutting those trees down.
well, I
That's
guess,
all we're saying. We're not
no,
asking you to cut any trees down.
I-
And we're not, we understand there has to be some ingress and egress into the property, but you're asking for a variance at a very, sensitive area. It's a nature trail.
mhm.
And that's something that we take pretty seriously. So, we're not denying that you can put a house here, but we probably need a little more accommodation for what's existing there and the space that you're proposing to build on.
Mhm. I think I still feel like it's a little unclear on what the expectations of accessing the site, because it's very, like, I'm hearing very conflicting comments in that how, where's the driveway going to go and how am I going to basically allow people to access the trail. I mean,
I mean,
I don't know.
that is a concern, but I think our main point is that you're asking for a variance on top of that. I mean, you need to get in there and we understand that, but I think this is pushing it even further to ask for a variance into this space.
I'm only requesting a variance on our own site. I'm not requesting a variance into the trail system.
No, I understand that, but I mean, you are moving the entire property or structure closer to the nature trail, closer into the roadway. There's a property line there and there's a setback that, is just, that's generally what we have for all the properties, unless there's a really compelling reason for you and for,
So let me,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, let me ask you this. If, for instance, I mean, we've got the survey of the nature trail.
Mhm.
I would like to take a dimension to the house that's to the north of the trail.
Okay.
Does it seem reasonable that if that house adjacent to the nature trail on the north is, say, 60 feet from the trail, that I should be able to have be afforded the same distance?
Are they within their variance? Their entire variance would be a consideration we would have. You are asking for a variance.
Mhm.
I'm not sure this other property that you're mentioning would be within
Well,
a
if
variance.
we'll say, like, okay, say that their property line is a side yard, right?
Mhm.
They would be allowed to be within 5 feet of the trail.
Within 5 feet of the property line.
Yep, which is basically, if like right now I'm looking at it, that trail is about 3 to 5 feet from the property line. So they would be within 8 feet of that trail.
Mhm.
And I'm proposing right now where we're at with the site, the closest to that trail is probably about 40 to 50 feet from a part of the house that's actually meets the setback requirement.
Sure, I understand that.
Hey, Daniel, I think in answering that question, I think the consideration here is what we're referring to as this property and the fact that there's existing parking area for those that use the trail and that there's a cutout that's already paved and that the house that's being considered or the project that's being considered is going to be right abutted right up there. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, this is a completely different situation here, right? You're going to be dealing with the public parking in front of the house. If you put it within 5 feet, then you're going to be dealing with public that's going to be parking their cars in front of this house. So I would move the driveway away from that contention, right? That park trail is existing today. The project is a project, right? It doesn't exist, so it's something you got to consider. That's why you would probably want the 20 feet. If I was the owner, I probably wouldn't want to be close to all those parked cars, right? So
Well,
why would you put your house right next to an existing parking area where you're gonna get that contention later.
I don't think I don't think where they're parking is currently where everybody thinks they're parking.
Well, where we were looking at the property, it's definitely paved, and where you're showing the cutout of your property, it's natural just to park there. I mean, we literally just park there, right? I mean, that's going to be the case when you build this project, right? If you're asking for 5-foot variance, yeah, well, you're gonna have to deal with that, right?
Well, I guess let's go back. Like when you parked there, when you visited the site, were you on pavement when you parked, or were you on dirt?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that portion of the road,
And that's right up to your cutout there that you drew on your drawing.
no, the pavement's like almost 100 feet away. That's what I'm saying. I don't think everyone realizes where the trail starts and where the road ends.
We're
I
right
think
next
we
to
actually
the
parked
signage,
right where the trail.
right where
starts.
that first, yeah, where that post is, exactly where the trail post was.
Yeah, which is in front of the paved area.
Yep.
So like the property line or that white stake to the trees is like another 80 feet away from that.
So we walked to where there's a yellow stake, or sorry, a dark brown stake and a white stake that were put together. There was a survey marker on there, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then if you keep walking down the trail, then you have your 30-foot east to west pink ribbon, right? And that's where your cutout is.
The 30-foot ribbon, that one's down the slope, not along the trail.
Yeah. So we saw that ribbon. So what is that representing?
That ribbon was basically the face of the garage.
Okay, so that's the edge. That's the edge of the garage.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So you're now definitely right abutted against the parks, right? Because that 30-foot ribbon, you're definitely part of. I mean, if we walked right down there, that's you're gonna get people walking down there anyways, right? So whether it's off the park trail or not, it's definitely in alignment with the trail, right? We're gonna see that garage right next to the park trail, right? Is that what you want? Is that
so
you want people to walk right up to your garage? Is that because that's the way I saw it.
Yeah.
If that's the edge of your garage, I just walk straight into it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
is that so? You want 5 feet variance so that people can just go on that park trail and just walk right to your house. Because that's what the reality is, right?
No. This is why I don't think it's clear. I don't think people are understanding the plans, because right now the face of the garage, again, even if where they can park, I mean, if they park anywhere else, they're basically driving down a slope into the property, and you can't. I mean, there's no way you can park there right now. It's unfeasible to park where basically the face of the garage is, fronting that. So that portion where we're proposing, it's 15 feet to the property line, and then probably another 60 plus feet to the trail.
Okay, so where the pink ribbon is.
Correct.
Okay, this is why we're asking these questions, because we weren't clear looking at your ribboning, and it wasn't clear where the edge of property was. So we envisioned that was where you start. So you're explaining now that it's the edge or the edge face of the garage. So that's where your building is going to start. So that's within 5 feet. So what we're asking is why would you want it that close to the park trail?
So going back, just to clarify, it's not within 5 feet of the property line. It's 15 feet from the property line. We're asking for a 5-foot departure.
Daniel?
Yes.
If I make him a panelist, he can share his screen. Andrew, do you think that would help?
I think that would help a lot.
All right. Is that okay, Daniel?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Try now. Okay, it just switched you.
Thank
Are
you,
you good?
Diane. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let me slide this over so I can share my screen. Zoom, share screen. Let's see. Do you see a drawing?
I see it, yeah.
Okay, perfect. It's weird. Normally I get a red box around which screen I'm sharing. Okay, so this is basically, this line here represents the edge of pavement when you drive up.
Okay,
All of this, so this is actually the right of way that Valley Crest has. So this, based on the survey, this is what I'm calling the right of way or public property. The pavement or the unimproved portion of that right of way is all of this. So the
Okay.
trail, this is the surveyed trail that was in. So the closest that I've ever been able to park is right here.
yes,
You
I think that's where we parked.
You can't get past these trees.
Right, I think
And
that big rock is right there
Yeah.
too.
So the only way to access this site, yes, correct. The big rock is like right here. So the only way to access this site is basically right in this line here. I have no control of removing trees in a right of way, so that's why the proposed driveway is through here. So that ribbon that I put in is basically this face here. So that white stake with the yellow one directly behind it is this point right here. So I marked the corner here, which is, this is the 5-foot setback line. So I marked this corner. And then I put a stake in, or I put that ribbon across this face. And then I marked these trees here.
Okay, yeah,
And so what this document was basically showing is this dark dashed line represents the current footprint that we're requesting where to build. The red is if we move the garage to the 20-foot setback.
so your deck would actually, would that be
So-
included in the red line, or
No,
would that
no,
be
I
go
was just-
beyond that?
It would go beyond that. And at that point, I'd probably run into issues with the setback to the south property line.
This is just the building, right?
Correct. This is just the
Yeah,
building.
so we're just looking at the building here, Daniel. So without
Okay.
the deck.
Right.
And if I read this now, the request is not, I guess, yeah, you're asking for 5 feet from edge of property, right? Like the building would start 5 feet from the property line.
It would be 13 from the front, right?
So if
Well, look at the corner, look at the one corner where he's got the tree there. That's the 5 feet right there. Is that correct? The way we're interpreting?
that's 5 feet here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And
So he's taking the smallest point as the 5-foot variance. That's what he's requesting. It's not the entire building. Like, I think if I'm reading this correctly, it's 5 feet variance with just that corner, right? The rest of the house will probably meet pretty close to 20 feet.
It's the front of the garage that would be extending into
Yeah,
the
it's the
setback.
issue of that corner, right?
Yeah.
This one.
The whole face of the garage would be,
It'll be in non-compliance to the
Right.
setbacks.
yeah, I mean, and that's the problem. I mean, if we go back to the rest of the residents and say we allowed this on a nature trail, the nature trail is really a big part of this. That's the sticking point in my mind.
But I guess, I mean, Daniel, that's what I'm having a hard time with, is that I mean, I could build this house basically I mean, let me put it this way. I think it's, so this is why I say it's like a compromise and a good, I know there's an annotation tool. Where is that? So there we go. I could technically build the house right here,
Yes.
right? All of this.
Mhm.
And I could build my, basically a 3-story home right there. We're basically moving that house to here. We're requesting basically we're pulling the house away from the trail and where we're having it. I mean, basically the only chunk of home that we're fronting really the trail is this. That's it. So it's like, I feel the trade-off is, it's like, okay, we keep saying, oh, we're giving a variance, to a trail. But at the same time, the variance, by giving this variance, allows me not to have to build a house right up against the trail.
Sure.
I mean, that's the trade-off. I mean, the trade-off is I could move this house, I could move the design to meet the setbacks, but it's only going to make the house closer to the trail. And then the flip side to that is, oh, if I am given a little lenience on a setback, I could move the house further away from the trail.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
which way are you asking for the variance? Like, there is no variance in the yellow outline that you just made, right?
Correct.
So that's fine. That's well within the setback. There's no issue there.
Mm-hmm. But I guess what I'm saying is the counterpoint is I'm hearing that you're not in favor of a variance because of requesting, or like, how is it looked at by the neighborhood, in that a variance was given to be closer to a trail. And what I'm saying is that by granting the variance is actually allowing us not to build close to the home, or not build the home close to the trail. I mean, basically we're asking if, we can have this so that we could build around this jog, opposed to, okay, well, no, we're not going to grant you a variance, and the only where that you can really build this home is right here. And now I'm basically 20 feet from the trail, 30 feet from the trail, all of the entire home, with basically my driveway going like this still.
Yeah, I think at this point we are, I feel like I'm not in favor of allowing the variance, but I'd be more than willing to meet with you and maybe with the committee and look at this, because, on paper it may be one thing, but to actually see it with you and see where the actual lines are may help us. If my team is willing to do that, I'm certainly willing to do that, make this ongoing discussion, because we do have the concerns about the nature trail. It's not just the trail, but that's the trailhead too, where people will be parking, and that, it does set a tone for the trail. I wasn't real clear when I visited where this would be and how this would impact the trail in that area. So, I mean, if we could meet there, and maybe even with Joel, it may help us understand what you're asking for.
Yeah,
but at the same time, go consider meeting the setback and getting the square footage that you are trying to achieve with your owners, right? There may be another way to design this house to meet the setbacks too, because there's room, right? I mean, when we walked it, there's definitely ways to meet it without what you're asking for a variance, right? To still achieve the square footage that you're expecting to deliver to your owners, right?
I think
like, are you trying to achieve the square footage, or are you trying to achieve?
We're trying to achieve basically,
because we couldn't figure it out from looking at your ribbons. That was the bottom line. That's why we're denying it, because we just couldn't envision where the edge of the whole project was, right? And now that you've explained it, yeah, I mean, and then the fact that you didn't consider, well, now you've considered with the yellow line while we're talking, because we thought, well, why would you only look at that one spot? Like, you've got a whole open space, just exactly like and it was good that you shared it, right? We appreciate that because we actually thought about that. Why didn't you just build there? Because you don't need to ask for a variance there, and you got lots of open space, right? And it's probably a better view, right?
Yes,
Because they're
but
staring into
I
the
think
street from where our vantage point, where you're asking for the variance, right?
from my client's perspective, they, you bring it, it's kind of funny in that we've kind of touched on this in multiple different ways, but so their concern is, like you brought up, Wayne, like, being close to the trail. Do you want somebody really right there next to your home, close to the trail? Well, no. What aspects of this site do my clients love? I mean, I don't know if, it was written the, the letter that was sent in, but, my clients are from Chicago. They don't have tree. Well, I'm from Chicago too. So
I am too.
yeah. So there's, as you know, there's not many trees like we have here, nor do we have topography
Right,
there.
right.
So,
Yeah.
they fell in love with this site because of the trees, because of the natural beauty. The home is only 1 story at grade, basically at grade, right? And then we're, utilizing the fact that it's a steep site. We're going down, not up. So we're trying to, the home is being lowered on the site, only a story above access, and then a story below. So when we contemplated where you could build this house, right, I'm now looking at, basically, I'm closer to the trail. I've got my garage that's right there next to the trail. I've now have probably a home that I'm going to be more than a story above access. So this portion would probably be, even if say like we built like this, so that we save that the largest tree of them all, 36 inches, I'm looking at 3 stories. So now I've got a 2-story house alongside the trail that's 40 feet away. Opposed to the design that we looked at is saying, okay, like, how can we pull this house away from the trail? How can we minimize having this taller home on the site? And that's kind of where the design led, is like, we're trying to play with the contours, align with the contours, hence why, the house is kind of sweeping around with the contours and following it, is so that we can minimize having to dig out, and also, have this lower story beneath and only have 1 story above. So it's
the other value, if you did consider that, where you drew the yellow line, on that side of the property, if you had multiple stories, you might get better stability. Because I read your geological response, right? Your geotech said it was unstable the way, moving it further away, and I agree with that. But on the other hand, why didn't you consider multi-story, so that you can get more of the foundation and a retaining wall out of it, right? By if you look at other home projects where they suffered that same consequence, they could have gained by, and there's several examples in the area. If you built multi-story, you'll probably get a lot more stability in that structure. So anyways, it's food for thought, right?
Yeah.
We understand what your owners are looking for. We understand, coming from the Midwest.
Andrew, Joji, do you think there'd be a value in us actually meeting at the site before our next meeting and going over this? Because a lot of this is going to be, how it feels too. So we could propose things there and talk about what the problems are. Can we agree on that? Yeah, I'm considering we would deny this as submitted, but we're open to continuing the conversation. Does that sound fair?
It's okay with me.
Wayne, do you see value in that?
Sure. Yeah. No, it's important that we understand, because we just can't see it with the ribbons that are there now. And
Okay.
It's good to perhaps meet you in person at the site.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a huge benefit.
So I think the motion on the table is to deny as submitted. Can we get a second?
Yeah, Wayne to second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So we're denying, but we will consider continue this conversation and try to work with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Who's like the best to coordinate that?
Um, I guess you can coordinate it with me, or maybe Diane, because she can.
Okay.
Diane,
Yep, I'm here.
okay.
Yeah, and I know we're nearing the Christmas holiday season, so
Yes.
and I'm assuming all of you are volunteers in this
We are,
position.
yes,
So
yes.
I want to make sure that we, accommodate your schedule. So, if this needs to occur on a weekend or
We generally meet every week before our meetings
okay,
for a tour on the Tuesday before.
okay,
So we could probably set something up for that.
okay,
And we will be voting later on whether we will have a meeting for the 21st. And if not, we would have one on the, I guess, 2 weeks
Okay.
after that.
January 4th, so you'd meet on the 2nd.
Yes, so we could meet with you on the 2nd, that Tuesday. I assume everybody would, if my team is available.
That's,
Well, yeah, the one comment, Dan, is you want to go into that site before the snow flies, right?
Snow's fine with me.
yeah, it was very wet when I put those ribbons on.
it was wet yesterday when we were there.
Yeah, it was
And-
dark and wet and
Yeah,
For a second, we're talking about,
I'm sorry, Jojine.
are we talking about January?
Yes, for our tour.
We probably want to make sure Joel can come. Just-
Yeah, we'll try to coordinate that with him. That would be helpful. And also do consider that, is Andrew still there?
What's up? Okay, so we're having issues with our computer over there, the cameras are.
Sorry,
Right.
I switched him back and he couldn't talk.
Andrew,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I reached out to Mike Brock, head of maintenance. He said.
I'm
that-
here.
Andrew, yeah, just also the eaves on the house, make sure that
Okay.
you're considering that too. So we'll talk about that.
okay. I'll reach out to Diane and then, yeah, and I'll let her steer the date and time, and we'll just be there.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your
Yeah,
explanation.
thank you, everyone.
All right,
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
bye. Diane, do we have anyone else?
Did we vote on that, Daniel?
Yes, we did. We denied as submitted. Is there anyone else here, Diane? Are you here, Diane?
I am muted, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
I
Do we
think
have anyone?
Yeah, I think I know who was here and they left. Based on the initials, and I think it was 31 Deer Run. But I don't think you're gonna need the homeowner here for that.
No, we met with them.
Yep.
Okay,
Alright.
I guess where are we? Item 3, I guess.
Did you do 2?
Approval of no, we didn't do that yet. We could do that now. Approval of the 11/16 meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve.
I'll
Wayne
second.
to second. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 3, this resident wants to remove some limbs on 7 trees. I would move to approve.
Wayne to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You abstaining, Joe Jean, since it's your tree?
We
Well,
don't
you're-
know who the owner is.
It's approved.
Thanks.
Item number 4. Replace slider and add windows.
I'll move to approve.
Wayne to second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item 5, 101 Grandview, the driveway. We met with these residents and I think this is sort of an ongoing design they have. I think we agreed to agree in principle to this idea, but I think Wayne, if I'm not mistaken, they're considering garage and sort of adding to what they already submitted. Is that what you got from the conversation?
No, they're gonna file a separate request.
Right.
So we're just
So-
approving the pavement or the improvement for where they're putting the pavers.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
so it's the motion to approve the pavers, the hand pavers.
to replace the existing driveway.
Yep.
Okay. And the small change of adding pavers to the platform on the bottom, patio on the bottom.
That's right.
Okay. Any second?
Awesome.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Item 6,
Decide you need, what we do.
the handrails on the driveway.
Approved.
Wayne to second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Yeah, I will. Okay, yeah.
Item 9. 24 Granite Circle. This was an extension for construction, and my understanding is that they didn't start anything yet. So they're just moving their start date to what is it, June 24th? June of 2024. Yeah. Any discussion on this?
Motion to approve the extension.
I'll
Awesome.
second. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
And
Approved.
that's to match the county date.
Yes,
That's correct.
did we pass item 7?
We did. We passed item 7. That's the heating and air conditioning.
Yeah, and I have a question for Wayne. Wayne, the picture you sent of the backyard, is that where they plan on putting the equipment?
Right. They have two installer estimates. One they were going to put it on a pad, or the other installer was going to hang it on the side there. And we showed the picture to demonstrate they have right of way or access in there to do either, and it's fine.
Okay, thanks. I'll move to approve.
Wayne to second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Now we're on 10.
I'll move to deny.
Yeah, we looked at this property and there was no real compelling reason to add more parking to this residence. There's a nice driveway and a garage, and we're trying to avoid as much as possible parking on the street. So I think that's what went into Jojean's vote to deny, or motion to deny. Second,
Wayne to second.
all approved, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
I
Okay,
make a comment that another reason we want to deny it is because we're supposed to be leaving these I'll call it a drainage ditch open so that water can sink down into the ground instead of running down a pipe and coming out someplace else.
So there are aesthetic as well as practical reasons for this decision.
Yep.
Okay, 11, we are voting to whether we should cancel the December 21st meeting. Can I get a motion? I guess
Or don't you want discussion first?
yeah, yeah, let's have it. All right, we can discuss that. So we were talking about canceling the December 21st ACC meeting.
And does Diane have any requests for that date currently, or do we know if anybody's made any requests?
While I've been in this meeting, someone dropped off a request for a fence, but they're new residents and I've been working with them on something else and I'm sure they'll be fine with January. Morgan just didn't know to tell them.
So the next one would be January 4th, is that correct?
Correct.
The other option too, Daniel, is because there's only one in there, we could do a separate vote by email if it's only a fence request.
Can we do that, Diane?
You could, but I'm like I said, I think they'll be fine waiting, but I'll let you know if there's an issue.
All right,
How's
if there's
that?
any urgency.
Because of the holidays, I'm sure they're not building a fence right this second.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. So I guess we're voting whether to cancel the meeting. How do we word that?
Well, the motion is to cancel a face-to-face meeting for the December 21st, which I think is reasonable. And then we're also saying that if there's just one or two requests, we're also suggesting we can make that decision by email.
I can second that.
I'm sorry, I got called away to answer a question. What's happening?
So yeah, so the motion is to cancel the face-to-face meeting on December 21st. And then the additional comment is if there are any special requests for that date, we could move to vote by email.
And then approve it on the 4th.
Correct.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Nice distinction. Thank you.
I'll second.
I seconded it.
Oh,
No motion.
All in favor?
aye.
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 So in lieu of the face-to-face, are we gonna meet as a? So we don't need to meet prior
Correct.
to that date, right?
Right,
Yeah, okay.
correct. Yeah.
Want to make sure we're not setting a precedent where we're still meeting, but then the meeting won't happen.
Correct, yes.
Can adjourn.
Yes, let's adjourn the meeting at 10:09.